Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro RPG. The end of another week, the end of another poll. We've got a surprising yet not unwelcome win for the Arms and Equipment Guide for Alternity. Now, as usual, I'll cover that on the desktop in a wee second, and I'll be back at the end of the video with some other poll-related stuff and some other channel-related stuff. But before I do that, I'd like to take a moment to talk about my Patreons, who this week have all maxed out their charisma attribute. And their good looks, kind eyes and good hearts aren't why I love them. I love them because their generosity in supporting this channel. It's so much appreciated. So, if you'd like to join them, and you'd like to help the channel out, or you'd like access to these videos a week early, or you'd like to become a real honest-to-goodness fake laird of Scotland, or one of the other things we offer, we've got a Patreon in the description down below. If you click on that and check it out, it'd be very much appreciated. But anyway, let's have a look at the Arms and Equipment Guide. So, this is the Arms and Equipment Guide. It's for the Alternity role-playing game. It's for, in particular, the Stardrive setting. It's by TSR and it came out in 1998. Now, Alternity was a rules system rather than a full role-playing game, much like Dungeons & Dragons is a rule system. So, like Dungeons & Dragons, we'll have various settings. So, Dragonlance, Forgotten Realms, Ravenloft, Dark Sun, Spelljammer, and so many more. There were a huge bunch for Alternity as well, but the big two that I remember being Dark Matter and Stardrive. Now, Stardrive I don't actually know that much about, because I don't have the campaign setting, I've just got a few books within it. And it seems to be a generic science fiction futuristic setting. It's the 26th century. Humans have discovered the Stardrive, which has allowed them to go to the stars. They've met aliens, there's been a mutant uprising, etc., etc., various things which sound fairly generic. But it survived the death of Alternity, because much of the Stardrive setting got carried over into the D20 Future book. So as Wizard of the Coast moved everything after they bought TSR over to the D20 system after 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons was released, and they brought out D20 Modern and D20 Future, Stardrive got shipped over along with it. So that's kind of nice to know. But apart from that, I don't know a huge amount about the setting. So let's have a look at the back of the book. The Stardrive campaign setting offers countless opportunities for making money, and just as many ways to spend it. The Arms and Equipment Guide is a 96-page illustrated book that describes hundreds of items for heroes to purchase, ranging from the mundane to the marvellous. In these pages you'll find excerpts from catalogues and reports that list what's available. Of course, heroes will have to know where to find what they want, and have to have the cash to afford it, or the savvy to bargain for a better price. The catalogue of the Riggan Star Consortium Merchant Exchange, offering a wide range of garments, personal items, medical gear, and professional equipment. Void Corp's Compu Catalog 1, the only place to go for the ultimate in computers, cyberware, and communications and sensor gear. Merrick's Personal Security Report, absolutely the most comprehensive listing of Gravity Age personal weapons and armor ever compiled. The Verge Tech Outfitters Spring Catalog, featuring the latest in survival gear and some high-ticket personal vehicles for those who want to travel in style. Complete game statistics are provided for all the weapons, armor, vehicles, and other types of equipment, making this book immediately usable in any Alternity game. So they seem to be covering a lot of generic ground as well. Inside, well, there are some colour plates in here. Much of the book is, although it does tend to go grey later on. But we start off, and the artwork's fairly nice. TSR did things very right. I quite like the implants here. We go through a credits page and contents, and then we've got an introduction, going through about the Gravity Age and the Stardrive setting. Now, the right to work, urbanization, entertainment and communication, the right to bear arms, the 26th century consumer. And then we're on to this Riggan Star Consortium Merchant Exchange. And we're going on to the equipment here. So we're starting off with accessories, like a Trail Tech backpack, a belt, a briefcase, glasses, gloves, hats, jewellery. Special tricks and traps, things you can build into these. Pouches, perches. We've got different types of boots, business dress. Now from a Mandarin coat to skirts, dresses, blouses, Rouse Corporation trousers. Cassocks, casual dress from halter tops, kilts, casual skirts, sweatshirts. Got chaps, cloaks, coats. Oh, very wide variety of clothing, which I kind of like, because choosing clothing and styling your characters a very cool thing. When you know that your character is wearing a Munson Co. overcoat over a jumpsuit, you can picture them in your imagination. Mikey athletic shoes, I think that's a rip-off of Nike. Slippers, work shoes, uniforms. And that's kind of where it goes through. There's some nice stuff in there where it details out. It's not just giving you a big list of items, you know, a huge list of names of things. We actually get a description. So, a dueling jacket, derived from the popular military styles of the First Galactic War. The dueling jacket is a very short, tight-fitting coat that hangs to the navel. Its cut was originally intended to keep the wearer's sidearm clear of any obstructing clothes. Though most people don't wear weapons with a coat any longer, a sash is a must with this dashing jacket. And the item number and the cost. We've got alien clothing, obviously for the different alien species within the setting. And it mentions, you know, they're for the Thralls, the Tsar, etc. Now on to medical gear and supplies. So artificial blood, artificial skin, first aid kits, nanosurgery kits, bone grafts, neural stimulators, different types of pharmaceuticals. And we've got stretchers and timeout stasis stretchers. Obviously puts people in some kind of stasis. Surgical kits, trauma packs of different levels. Carbide shears, demolition gear. You know, just lots of useful equipment without it being exactly high-tech. Instrument packs, powered jaws, laser torches, a walker, weight neutralizers, auto keys, so an automatic pick lock, holo viewers, psi restraints. Now we're getting onto more high-tech items. Then we're on to the Void Corp CompuCatalog 1, which is the cybernetics and communication equipment. So we've got beacons and different types of communicators here. A big pack communicator, modules, vid phones, gauntlets, goggles, scanners and surveillance gear, video cameras, different types of computers going from AI systems to business systems, right down to personal systems, professional gauntlets, including a medical gauntlet. And we've got different types of cyberware here, so artificial ears, eyes, scanner implants, endoskeletons. This looks like very much like a Terminator, very nicely done. Cyberware interfaces, command systems. We're on to the personal security report, Merrick's personal security report. So we're starting off with hand-to-hand weapons. We've got a police baton, a stun baton, an ion blade, a chainsword, classic for most science fiction games, zero-G axes, a Churkna, which is a Weron weapon. We've got Tsar melee weapons as well here. And then we're on to pistols, so 9mm pistols, zero-G pistol, charge rifles, submachine guns. The artwork's colour here, but it's not exactly exciting. We're on sort of 4 colour pages here instead of just black and white. Stutter weapons, heavy stutter, so we're on to heavier weapons here. Now, most of the weapons are imaged, but not absolutely every one of them. But there is a good amount of images here to give you an idea what the weapons look like. Quantum miniguns, grenade launchers, smart grenades, holsters and sights, so you can modify your weapons and make them more useful. We've got specialty ammunition, so you can load out your gun with different types of ammunition to have different effects. We've got assault gear, going from sort of battle armour, but we go right up to sort of through carbonate fibre, polymer attack armour, cerametal, paladin battle armour, and then we're getting on to massive sets of powered battle armour. The body tank, as it describes here, the Dragoon. We've got assault shields and different types of force shields, so deflection screens, magnetic screens, particle screens, capacitor screens. We've got the different types of armour used by the various alien races here. We've got the EdgeTech Outfitters catalogue, so we're on to vehicles and that kind of stuff here. So we've got portable cabins starting off, domes. And this is very nice to allow your players to set up temporary bases as they travel around the galaxy, so they're not just camping out of their ship all the time. A bolt-hole sleeping bag, 2-man tents. They're onto climate suits and environment suits. That looks very Giger-esque. Armoured environment suit, respirator masks, onto vehicles. Kind of reminds me of the tractor out of the extended version of Aliens. Solar X Condor Skycar, Invader ATV cycles. As you see, there's not many images. You know, it's got the Grizzly ATV's ground car there, but there's nothing at all, no images for the Sky Car or the Cycle, the Sky Cycle, grav belts. We're left to guess at what these are like, although there are a bunch of text here to let it flesh out in your imagination. We've got flashlights, climbing harnesses, sonic barriers, and then we're going right up to starships. So we've got the Hermes-class Courier, which apparently looks like that, which reminds me very much of the Sulaco out of Aliens as well. The Nike-class Gunboat, the Gull-class Launch. And then we've got a bunch of tables here with the stats, so you can easily look things up without flicking through loads of pages. You've got the items and the stats for them, including the costs. A bunch of tables here for different weapons. And then we've got a Transverge News Prime report with some news stories to build up your campaign with. Now, the Arms and Equipment Guide's quite nice. There's a lot of good stuff in here. But the lack of artwork in the latter half of the book really hinders it. And the fact that they've gone with this 4-colour pages, they'd have probably been better to go with more diagrammatic art, much like the Shadowrun Street Samurai catalogue and things did, but in black and white. It would have looked far more professional. But it's a lovely book. There's a lot of stuff in here. I don't know how well it works for the Stardrive setting, whether it's running away with the power level or anything, but it does make an entertaining read and give you some idea of the technology in the 26th century gravity age. So that was the Arms and Equipment Guide for Alternity, and that came first in the poll this week with some 32% of the vote, which is only narrowly ahead of the second place, which was Rift's World Book 5 Triax and the NGR, which came in on 27%. Which was good to see, because I've got a load of Rift's books and it'd be nice to cover some of them. But alas, not this time. And they are way out ahead of everything else, because third position is Terra Counter Terra for Millennium's End, which I would absolutely adore to love, as I do absolutely think the world of Millennium's End stuff. But that came in on 16%. The Capital Source book for Mutant Chronicles, which came in on 15%. And way back behind, on 10%, was Cold Hands Dark Hearts for Big Eyes Small Mouth, which is the comedy one. It's been in the polls since the very first week I started doing the polls, and has pretty much reliably always came last. So I don't think I'm ever going to make a video of it. Except perhaps if a video making day falls on April the 1st, and I'll just do it anyway. But anyway, they're all cleared out, and we're going over to a Retro Adventures poll. And as promised, I'm going with totally new stuff. Stuff which has never been in a poll before, because I've been a bit lazy lately in just using things from old polls and trying to rehash my way through that. Whereas I've got loads of stuff up there, let's have a fresh look. So, first off, we've got Ghost Toasties for the Ghostbusters role-playing game. Now, this came with the GM screen. It's quite a fun adventure where an Incan god takes the form of Tony the Tiger from Frosties, or I believe they're called Frosted Flakes in the United States. Very much like Gozer takes the form of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in the movie. It's quite an interesting look at corporate branding. Very much tongue-in-cheek, very much comedy like the movie. Fantastic stuff. Next up we've got Kafir Dawn for 2300 AD. Now this is the adventure which comes with the bogs, and I don't really have that much for 2300 AD, or Traveller 2300 as it was in its first edition. So it'd be interesting to go through that and have a look at what the adventures were like. Next up we've got Dream Chipper for Shadowrun. Now this is a really interesting adventure. because most adventures are about people going into cyberspace and people going into virtual realities. Whereas this is about virtual constructs going into people's heads and taking control. So the Shadowrunners are sent out to track down a bunch of chips with personality constructs which have taken over people. But these are things like Jack the Ripper and Genghis Khan in modern day cities. So it's an interesting play on these things. Next up, after that, we have San Francisco Nights for Cyborg Commando. Now, there were only 3 adventures, but unfortunately I've only got one of them. But this is a game I have much maligned over the years. It's a terrible, terrible presentation of a game. Gary Gygax didn't do well after Dungeons & Dragons, and Cyborg Commando is perhaps one of the worst games ever published. But it's worth a laugh at, and it'd be fun to have a look at the adventures for it. And finally, we've got Valley of the Mists for Bushido. Now, this is another game where I only have the rulebooks and 1 adventure, so it'd be nice to cover. But the thing which links all these adventures together is they're all from the 1980s. This is when I was just getting into role-playing, when I first had disposable income and I could go out to shops and buy things. So I was starting to fill my shelves with source books, games and adventures. So it'd be nice to have a look at these ones I bought early on, which I really haven't had a look at for 30 years. On other channel-related news, well, the Discord channel is carrying on as usual. There's a few bits of chat in there, but it's pretty quiet these days. I'm afraid I haven't been able to contribute to that as much as possible. On the website, well, I'm still working my way through The Mandalorian, statting out those episodes, and after that I'll be having a look at the Young Jedi Adventures series. But it's going to take a while to get through all the episodes of The Mandalorian, producing stats for absolutely everything in the episodes in my completionist fashion. And I'm continuing to publish books on DrivethruRPG. I'll include a link to one of them down below. If you'd like to check it out, it'd be very much appreciated. But this week I've done 2, one on the Scottish mythic creatures. So these are things I visited back in February on the website for Dungeons & Dragons. But I decided to explore it a bit more, do some artwork, and present it in a far nicer fashion than just slap it on a web page. And I do think it does look quite nice. And I've also done a book called Maldeb Asylum, which is for horror, which is a look at a asylum in the Victorian era and the horrors of that. Very much based on Bethlehem Hospital London, or Bedlam. So lots of nasty stuff in there, and a few ideas for NPCs. I think there's 20 NPCs. I've included details of various locations through it, along with 5 ideas for adventures set in that location. So that's up on DrivethruRPG, or available to Patreons of Librarian or Laird status. So if you check that out, you can get access to all the books, which are now up to about 45, I believe. Apart from that, not much going on, but I do seem to be waffling along for ages as usual. So thank you very much for watching. But most of all, you look after yourselves. And I'll catch you later. Bye now.